A little bit of news from the USF 2000 qualifying session a little earlier for the pole sitter, Miles Rowe.
Yeah, we had a bunch of drivers pushing very hard at the end of that session. As we know, we saw Jacob Douglas get into the wall in the final lap. He was tracking for P2, a possibility of going to the outside of the front row, but got into the wall. But Miles Rowe coming through, did not come into pit lane after getting the checkered flag, what they call blowing the checker. So he came back and went another lap around. And when you do that, obviously off the schedule, you end up with a penalty. So he qualifies on pole with a 112.8. But, man, tough to see a two-position penalty. He'll start on the inside of a row number 2 alongside Jacob Douglas. You know what? You normally only do that one time in your career because once you've done it, the team kind of berates you pretty good when you get back to the paddock. But indeed, Miles, I'm sure, will be disappointed in that. But again, he's got the speed to be able to work his way forward.
Part of the learning experience, part of the growing experience as drivers are making their way through the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires in the USF 2000 series. But the timing and scoring works a little bit differently for a practice and qualifying than it does for the race. It's not at the start-finish line. It is prior to the entrance to pit lane.
Yeah, we have an alternate timeline that IndyCar sets up for us. That way you can put a fast lap in the books and immediately come into pit lane if you want. You're not going to lose that full lap heading back around. So they get the checkered flag when they come out of turn number 7. Out there, the checkered flag flies. You're done. He just came back through, and instead of going to pit lane, he stayed to the right, went one more lap. And you know what? Yeah, it's a learning experience, but it's a bonus point. There's one bonus point for qualifying on pole. And let's say we get to Portland, and at the very end of this deal, he loses by 1 point, or it's a tie coming after the last race of that triple header in Portland. Man, that's 1 point you would have hate to given up by a mistake.
It is a tight championship battle as well up near the top for the top 3, and it'll be interesting to watch. And talk about this, there's Toronto and there's Portland left for the USF 2000 series. You can say, oh, there's only 2 events. Yes, but there's 5 races, and that's what still makes the championship very much alive in that one. So Nolan Siegel was the quickest in the morning practice in the Indy Pro 2000. He put in a quick lap right at the end to take the top spot.
Yeah, he was one of the drivers pushing at the end big time. The track obviously got better after USF 2000 came on track at 8 o'clock, and then of course had Indy Pro 2000, a much cleaner racetrack. They'll qualify right now for race number 1 of the L&W supplied Grand Prix of Toronto. And again, as you said, Nolan Siegel for D-Force Racing, already 2 times a winner on the season. He's 55 points back, sitting 3rd place in points. So always good to roll out here and be quick, even though we reiterated throughout the morning that because of the conditions, you really didn't need to push that hard. More so in USF 2000. Indy Pro drivers, many of them have been here in Toronto before, so more of a focus on trying to see what they could do to potentially get themselves to the top.
My count was there were 4 Indy Pro drivers that have been to Toronto before, and which is significant because it's just that familiarity with the track, understanding, okay, this is a particularly tricky part, this is where we have concrete and asphalt, and it's just a small bit of familiarity, but it's one less thing to worry about and concern learning the track.
And interesting, not just the track itself, but how the track races. That's not something, so throughout the weekend, these guys are going to get comfortable on the track, they're going to get a practice session, they're going to get the 2 qualifying sessions, so they've got a feel for how to go fast on the racetrack, but they've never raced here before, and this track races so much differently. We know what it's like to potentially get drafted by on the straightaway and then maybe draft back by again. It's such a long straightaway from turn 2 down to turn number 3. It's just understanding where to place your car when you're defending a little bit. That's going to be the advantage that a guy like Braden Eves or Reese Gold, some of the guys that have been here before, have over everyone else.
Interesting to see. We'll hopefully have a smooth and clean session. It was a bit dramatic in the early going of the USF 2000 session with Thomas Deveau, who had the touch of the wall, we'll say, coming out and did some pretty significant damage. But kudos to the team for getting it repaired and getting him back out to at least put in one more lap before the end of the session.
And he got to 13th, which was good. Instead of being back in 15th, he got a couple of spots, one more lap, and I bet he would have got a couple more positions. But indeed, we'll watch Thomas Deveau. Now, that's the key. The track, obviously, much better than it was earlier today. The temperatures are rising. It's cleaned off. We've had lots of racing on the track, so there is some rubber going down. But the key difference is the fact we're back on sticker Cooper tires again. That's the key. What happened to Thomas Deveau wasn't anything to do with the racetrack. It was just he was out there on cold tires and was pushing on likely his second lap. Probably didn't need to do that. Bringing those tires up to temperature in a more controlled form is probably what he would have been looking to do. And I'm sure he'll look back and say, man, I made a mistake. I can't do that. But the bottom line is all 14 of these drivers getting set to come out here will have sticker Cooper tires when they roll. One thing that we didn't bring up, which I thought was very interesting, no one went to fresh tires to try to get another second run on qualifying. Maybe because it was a 20-minute session. Normally we'll have a 30-minute session with 20 minutes of running. Maybe it's okay if there's an issue with somebody getting that yellow, but just the 20 minutes. And I think maybe they want to save their tires till the end of the weekend.
We'll wait and see how the strategy plays out through the weekend. Just a bit of a delay in getting this Indy Pro 2000 session started. They were moving the 58 of TJ Fisher from the Porsche Carrera Cup North America Series on the flatbed back in, so he'll have some work to do before they qualify tomorrow. And
another former Road to Indy driver, TJ Fisher. He raced, I believe, in 2017, I think, was in the Indy Pro 2000 category. TJ's a tremendous driver, man. Got a lot of talent. I saw that he was pushing pretty hard in that session, and hate to see somebody get into the wall, but again, that's what you got to do, right? You're pushing hard here.
And that's the way to have success here. It's just drift the car out, get as close as you can to the wall without touching it, because then real problems arise. But that's a good illustration with TJ Fisher in the Porsche Carrera Cup Series, that the road to Indy is the path through the open wheel ranks, but drivers will branch off and gain experience and participate in the numerous other series as well. It's a great learning opportunity for drivers in racing.
We really push the fact that it's a developmental ladder, right? We really develop the drivers in a really, I would say, a really fine-tuned way. It's a pressure cooker when you're in this particular program. So when we see drivers, we'll get less and less drivers as they work through up to Indy Lights trying to get to IndyCar. But we've seen so many drivers, like you've said, who have got up, who won races in USF 2000, won in Indy Pro, but didn't have quite the budget to move to Indy Lights, and they've gone on to pretty successful sports car careers. We're watching Rasmus Lint in the IMSA program right now. Parker Thompson, of course, one of the key examples, a winner in both USF 2000 and Indy Pro.
I was just going to say, Parker, who hasn't closed the door on open wheel racing, but has found himself a nice spot right now with JDX Motorsports in the Porsche Carrera Cup, but as absolutely open to open wheel, and has shown he can win races and just needs another opportunity to take another step.
Well, and what do you got to do, right? It's literally, he's won in USF 2000, almost won a championship a number of years ago, won in Indy Pro 2000. In a couple of years that he was there, it almost won a championship. Just go on to, if you can't get to Indy Lights, go do sports car racing and keep winning, because eventually a team owner is going to go, this guy just keeps winning races and he keeps being on the podium. That's what Parker's done, of course, in IMSA now as well. He got a chance to run in some IMSA stuff, and then what he's done here in Porsche. The guy's an absolute talent for sure.
Absolutely. The other part of the road to Indy and the learning process is being at the events with the NTT IndyCar Series. They will be out here at 2:30 this afternoon for their 75-minute practice session, but to be here, to be around the team so that they can observe what you're doing, and so you could observe and learn from them as well. It works both ways for this group.
Well, you'll see the drivers when they get into Indy Lights as well with Andretti Autosport, getting a chance to be so connected with the entire Andretti Autosport operation, but even more so just the drivers in USF 2000 Indy Pro. Like we say, when you move to IndyCar, you think, I want to be a professional race car driver. I'll be an IndyCar driver. The driver part is about 20%. The other 80% is sponsorships and hospitality and working with your sponsors and everything that comes outside the race car. Parker Thompson is an absolute pro at that for sure, and that's what we're trying to teach our young guys here. It's about the autograph session. It's about having sponsors in there, in a hospitality situation. There's so much that we bring to the table here with the Road to Indy.
Absolutely, and it's an opportunity for all of these drivers. As you hear, Indy Pro cars have come to life out on track. Their 20-minute qualifying session is underway.
Indeed, 20 minutes for these drivers to get to work. I'm wondering whether or not we'll see anyone come in for fresh Coopers. Obviously, we did not see that in USF 2000, so that kind of leans me to the side that we just might see a 20-minute straight-on run with the drivers here. Again, 14 in total getting set to go. Nolan Siegel was the fastest driver this morning, a 1:10.581. He was just a tenth of a second quicker than your point leader, Louis Foster, who we'll talk quite a bit about throughout this weekend. 49 points up right now, Louis Foster in the championship with just 6 races to go. 2 here in Toronto, 1 on the Oval at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Then a triple header for them as well when we get to Portland on Labor Day weekend. Foster's on a fantastic run right now. He has been on the podium 5 of the last 6 races, 4 of which have been wins. 4 wins, a second, And then an issue in the second race at Road America, in which he finished at the tail of the field in 13th spot. So look for Louis Foster to try to continue that run up front. But again, for Louis, he's in a place right now that he can potentially manage what he does. He may not have to push for a race win. If he's running second and doesn't think he has enough car, he can just start banking points, because he's in a great place right now. Although, as I've said before, a lot of points still up for grabs, 198 in total. He's 49 points up. Every race, every point that he's able to lock brings him closer and closer to that scholarship worth almost $700,000 to send him to Indy Lights in 2023. Louis Foster from England. Foster in the number 90 machine. Basingstoke, England. The UK, living now in Los Angeles. In the Copart.com Navora Technologies machine. That's the number 90. Louis Foster. The 8 of Nolan Siegel was the quickest driver, as we said earlier today, at Palo Alto, California, in the Town Ford Race for RP machine. Siegel, a winner in USF 2000 and Indy Pro. Drivers are doing a good job spacing themselves out. That's one of the things we talk about when it comes to Indy Pro. Many of these drivers, of course, have come through the road to Indy. They've spent years in USF 2000 already. So not only do they know the racetracks, but they also understand the strategy of qualifying. If you're out there in a pack and you're battling, you're not going to be able to go any quicker than the guy in front of you. Yeah, you could use the draft potentially, but if he's a half second slower or 0.3 of a second slower than you are, and you're just running his pace, that's where you're going to end up with the time charts. You have to have open racetrack to be able to get everything you can out of these race cars. And again, as I said in USF 2000 qualifying, we always hear after every session, I wasn't able to maximize my last lap. I was on a flyer and I got held up by somebody else. That's an excuse that many of the drivers will use. You have to position yourself on track when the car is the lightest, when the tires are right in the exact optimum operating temperature and right at the kind of tire life, 3-4 laps in, whatever it may be for that specific racetrack. Everything has to line up for you to be able to get that pole run. And of course, you got to get the job done as a driver as well. Best out lap belongs to Anam Ahmed. Actually, it was Josh Green, but Anam Ahmed goes to P2. A number of drivers coming to pit lane already. Both of the Juncos Hollinger cars into pit lane. Occasionally when we see a driver do this, come out in a 20-minute session, put maybe a couple laps in the books, and go to pit lane, they're essentially scuffing in a set of race tires. So they'll run a couple of laps on these tires, essentially putting a heat cycle on them. They're going to be able to have longer durability when we go racing on Saturday and Sunday. So they'll come in, do the couple of laps, put a heat cycle in the tires. They've only got 2 laps, so they're going to be fantastic still when you go racing. Put a fresh set of rubber on and roll back out. I'll keep an eye on pit exit here to find out whether or not that's exactly what those drivers are doing. But Ahmed with the fastest lap 2, a 1:11.051. Louis Foster in second in the number 90. Reese Gold in the 55 in third. Nolan Siegel in the number 8 in fourth spot. His teammate for D-Force Racing, Kiko Porto, the most recent winner in that Road to Indy Scholarship colored number 1 machine, now goes to second. For the Brazilian, into second spot. Great shot at a turn at number 6, back over to turn 7. Left-hand turn 5, then the double rights of turn 6 and 7, leading back into the right-hand turn number 8. So qualifying underway for Indy Pro 2000, the second rung of this Road to Indy. Braden Eves has now gone to the top of the charts with a 1:10.920. Remember, a 1:10.5, the fastest time for Nolan Siegel, so expect us to go well under the 1:10 mark with a better racetrack and fresh tires. So again, in that opening session this morning, not only was the track dirty, but the drivers all on a used set of tires that they carried over from the event at Mid-Ohio 2 weeks ago. Eves, Ahmed, Porto, Foster, and Green, the top 5. Gold runs 6th, Sundaramurthy 7th, Siegel, De Alba, Brkacek, top 10. Great shot at turn number 3. We're going to see a lot of action in turn number 3 this weekend. It's the best place to pass. Deep braking opportunities. You got to dive bomb the car in there, get it rotated, back up over to turn number 4. Really one of the most unique corners in American motorsports, especially here in a temporary circuit like the one in Toronto. Josh Green now with the fast lap. 14 minutes in, or 14 minutes left, 6 minutes in. Louis Foster now goes P1. Here we go. 20-minute session. Foster to the top of the charts. First driver into the 109s. A 109.967. And indeed, here come the Juncos cars. You'll see them to the right side of the screen coming up here momentarily. The Juncos cars coming out with fresh rubber. Jack William Miller, and here they are. That's Anam Ahmed, and being followed by his teammate Reese Gold. So indeed, fresh rubber for the Juncos racing driver. They've scuffed a set in for one of the races. We'll see whether that call plays off on Saturday or Sunday, whenever they like to use those scuffed tires. But at this point, here they come. Those are the two Juncos cars right there, Juncos Hollinger Racing. When you come back out like this, though, you can't impede another driver. And Reese Gold, kind of to the inside of the racetrack. Who's that rolling up? That's Yuban Sooner Amurthy. So Anam Ahmed's got to watch out here for Yuban. He cannot hold him up. He pulls to the right side, or left side of the racetrack, rather. Good call right there. That's one of the key things, Todd. If you go into pit lane to get fresh rubber and come back out, you have to make sure you don't hold anybody else up, and that was very close, I think, for Anam Ahmed. But coming out of 5, able to get to driver's left pretty quickly.
That's the other part of the learning process for drivers. Yeah, it's car control, learning how to go fast, learning how to manage tires, but also understanding how to work traffic and operate traffic when you're the faster car and when you're the slower car.
Let's go to the slower car and Anam Ahmed. The problem here is there's not a lot of places to get out of the way on this racetrack. Maybe down the back straightaway. You can't really do it coming out of 4. It's an incredibly tough place to get through. We have a yellow flag flying down in turn number 1. So yellow and 1, drivers off. That is Jack William Miller, I believe. I'm going to say that's Jack. Yeah, I'm going to say that's Jack William Miller is looped at coming through turn number 1 and has made contact with the wall on the outside of turn number 1, and we will go red flag. Red flag right now, and again, this is just a short 20-minute session. Louis Foster's gone P1 with a 109.967, but Jack William Miller out of Carmel, Indiana, and the Miller Vinatieri Motorsports machine has encountered issues in 1. And again, one of the big things about turn number 1 is the variation of the surface material, whether it's the asphalt into the concrete sections of the racetrack. You have the curbing on the inside as well. Many of the drivers will try to attack that curbing, and it often upsets the car. Off comes the AMR IndyCar safety team to see if they can't get to Jack William Miller. Rear wing damage is going to be right rear damage as well. And here it is here. Here's the spin coming through. So he loses the rear end right on the rear attenuator. It wasn't a really hard hit, and I'm assuming that Jack William may be staying in the car right now because he may think he may be able to refire.
I'm surprised to see Jack William Miller back into the wall that way. I thought it would have come around the other way and he would have looped around into the wall.
Well, look, on the turn coming in, right, just snap steer. He had the wheel into it and just got on the brakes. And again, when you're rolling across a different surface there, like we said, the essentially apex is that very slippery pavement on the bottom. And if he had a bunch of wheel turned into it and really had the front loaded quickly, you can see he comes in there and he's just asking too much, and probably, I'm going to say, likely doing a bit of trail braking into that corner as well, trying to get the car to rotate. And when you lose that trail brake and it's too much and you lose the rear, the thing's just going to spin around. Inertia's taking you all the way around, and that was really a textbook turn 1 spin.
Yep, absolutely. So the AMR safety team will endeavor to get that car collected, and I don't know that Jack William Miller is going to be able to continue. It looks like they're trying to untangle the car from the wall and the pieces and get him out.
They've also got some of the speedy dry down there. Like, he may have had an issue with the gearbox. It may have spilled some liquid, some oil from the gearbox onto the racetrack as well. So I'll tell you one thing, the AMR safety crew, when they get to a car, they're pretty quick in assessing whether or not it's going to be able to roll again. Can you refire? Or in this case, obviously, there is some mess onto the track itself. This is going to take a little more time. And we're going to watch this time tick away a bit, too, because remember, as we said, only a 20-minute session. Louis Foster sitting there P1 saying, I'm good. Should probably call this. There's no way we can go back to green.
Throw the checkers, whereas Reese Gold, who is down in 12th position, would definitely like to see this session resume.
Yeah, Reese only able to get those 4 laps in, but nothing with speed. Remember, he did scuff their tires. They came in. That's one of the issues potentially with doing that, because if you haven't, they did get a banker lap in, but not quite enough laps. They've got a great set of tires scuffed now, a heat cycle for race number 1 or race number 2, but they're really crossing their fingers, hoping that they'll be able to go back to green and get at least maybe 5 or 6 minutes. Although We don't know how long this is going to take. I will say the AMR IndyCar safety team, the absolute best in the business, and we're thrilled to have them part of the road to Indy. And again, they know our drivers, they know our cars. So whenever there's an incident like this, they spring to action and very quickly assess the situation. And either get, number one, get the car off the racetrack, get the driver into safe position, and then get the track the way we need it to be.
And how quickly the tow truck was already there to get that car lifted and hoisted out of the way and make sure that it doesn't drip any further fluids onto the track the rest of the way around.
And literally, we're 3.5 minutes of red flag time, so they had this car already rolled up after 3.5 minutes. Let's have a look at the top 10, because that, you never know, as we're sitting here right now with 8-something minutes to go. Now, we're still going to get 5. This is good. They've done a tremendous job getting this car back in here. Indeed, the tough one for Jack William Miller, though. He sits 11th with a 111.362. Not sure how much that is going to hold on, as we still have, probably 7 minutes to go when we get back to green flag. Louis Foster, P1 by 0.3 of a second, your point leader for Exclusive Autosport in that number 90, ahead of Yuvan Sooner-Amurli for Pabst Racing. Nolan Siegel, Josh Green, and Kiko Portal round out the top 5. You got Braden Eves in 6th. His teammate Salvador De Alba from J. Howard Driver Development in 7th. Anam Ahmed in 8th, a Juncos driver. Just 2 laps on the green on the new tires. So Ahmed now in the 8th spot. Wyatt Prakacic in 9th. Jordan Missig in 10th. Jack William Miller, Reese Gold, Jonathan Brown, and Lindsey Brewer. Brewer already picking up a second from where she was in the first session of the day.
Great to see. You saw her have that little bit of an issue this morning where she took it into the tires near the end of the session. But again, great work by the team. Get that front wing replaced, get her back out on track to get another lap or two so as not to end the session on a negative.
Here's the thing about Juncos Racing. Do they roll right out of here? We'll see. I think they are going to roll right out. I'm going to say, or do they've already got 2 laps on these tires. They literally could pull those tires off, put another set on. There's your scuffed tires for both races. No, everybody's coming out. Mass exodus from pit lane. So there's the Juncos cars out front here right now.
With 6.5 or so minutes to go, I guess waiting really isn't an option. By the time you get around, get the tires, you take the timing line, you want to go.
Yeah, get at it for sure. You got to expect lap 4, lap 5. Lap 6 are going to be your best lap, so get right out there as soon as you can to get to work. Foster, Sooner-Amurli, Siegel, Green, and Portal's the top 5, but that is undoubtedly going to change here over the final 6.5 minutes of this session. This, of course, setting the grid for race number 1 for the Indy Pro 2000 category. We'll start the day off tomorrow with qualifying for race 2 for both of the categories, USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000. That'll be at 8 a.m. and 8:35 in the morning, respectively. We go racing with the first race of the day at noon with USF 2000. Back-to-back races, USF 2000, then Indy Pro 2000. A nice little hour and a half, 2 hours of fantastic racing here on the road to Indy.
Oh, yeah, and they're after it. First of all, that's the 47 car of Anam Ahmed coming through first across the line, and it's no time to wait with 5 minutes left to go, 5.5 minutes left to go.
You know, that combination there, that 9, 10, 11 combination, I feel that's the part of the racetrack that just separates everybody, because you watch those cars come through, and they're kind of dancing, they're bouncing back and forth, they're trying to rotate. There's a bunch of bumps coming through there. It's not a smooth part of the racetrack, and it's tighter coming through turn number 11. That section, you just see the drivers, they really want to have a car that will really absorb that kind of the bounce, but you've got to have a car as low as it can possibly be here as well. There's just such a fine line in developing that perfect platform for these drivers.
There's a few spots where there are combinations of corners, and you mentioned that one there, out of 8 and towards 9, 10, and 11, the final 3 turns on the circuit. As you come under the Honda bridge, you can see the cars shift and bounce just a little bit on the uneven surface, and who has the best car control through there can make a big difference.
And again, the suspension package, right? The car that can really absorb those bumps but still be low to the ground. You want to have a very, very low car. You got the ride height has to be as low as possible, but you can't bottom out. You got to make sure the car can really handle all the bumps that it's getting, because this is a significantly bumpy racetrack. 4.5 minutes to go. Watch the time start to fall as they're getting some heat built into these Cooper tires right now. Everybody's starting to use all of the outside of turn number 11. Here's a shot down into turn number 1. That is, I believe, Salvador De Alba coming in. Here come the D-Force cars as well. J. Howard car. There's Kiko Portal coming through as well. Coming down the back straight with a 55 of Reese Gold. Second place in points coming in, but 49 markers behind Louis Foster in the fight for this championship. Reese Gold needs to have a massive weekend here in Toronto and then have a really strong one at Worldwide Technology Raceway on the Oval, where we pay out points and a half. 30 points to win a race here in the Road to Indy, 45 when we head to the Oval. So that's an opportunity to close up big time in the championship standings.
Another good illustration that even though it's a significant lead for Louis Foster right now, the championship has not been decided. There are lots of points available, especially at the end of the year with 3 more races at Portland.
Andy, 198 points still up for grabs. He only has a 49-point lead, so he needs to keep getting as many points as he possibly can, avoid those DNFs. And to do that, qualifying on pole, the first step. Foster holding on to that spot right now. 3 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Now we're going to start to see some fast times start to roll out here. Foster, Sundaramurthy, Siegel, Green, and Eves still the top 5. Again, the issue for Jack William Miller out of this session, having put only 5 laps in the books. We'll see whether or not he's currently P12 right now. That may be enough to keep him on the outside of row number 6. I don't know that Lindsey Brewer or Jonathan Brown are going to go any quicker, but look at Lindsey Brewer. I told her this between the session. We had an autograph session, and she was, again, always down, kind of, you know what, I made a mistake out there. I said, no, you're just getting to learn this racetrack. You're going to be back next year. This is a fact-finding mission. You gauge against yourself. Don't gauge against anybody else right now. They've been racing all year. For Lindsay, this is about just getting more comfortable, trying to find more speed in every session. And she's already lopped 3 seconds off where she was in session number 1.
She's knocked off a huge amount of time from her lap since this morning's practice session, and you can see the improvement. Braden Eves just posts a new quick time of 1:09.7.
Braden Eves, a winner from Road America, former USF 2000 champion, goes to the top of the box, but Louis Foster steals that back, goes 0.3 quicker. A 109.416, Eves a 109.758. Foster essentially in the car the Eves raced last year for Exclusive Autosport. Eves moving back over to J. Howard Driver Development, the team that he raced with earlier on in his career. Already a win for Eves on the season. Foster with a number as well. He's got 4 wins in the last 6 races. Foster and Eves, P1, P2. Kiko Porto, if he has a strong run here this weekend, everything I keep saying has so much more validity, right? Because I keep saying the second half of the season, and there's Porto going off a little deep. They're really trying to attack turn number 3. He's P3 right now, and he wants more. But for Kiko Porto, coming off that win, he's the most recent victor in the series. 2 weeks ago, able to hold off Louis Foster at Mid-Ohio to get that win. We talk all about how the confidence of a young driver when they get that first victory. Kiko's the reigning champion in USF 2000, but needed that win in Indy Pro to give himself the understanding, I can do it here. I can win on this level. He knows that now.
And even though you're showing speed, even though you're having good, consistent practice times and having solid finishes, it's that breakthrough that's necessary. And until it happens, it's just, I know I can do it, then you prove you can do it.
And the amazing thing is, when it comes to racing, once you've won on a level, no one can ever take that away from you. If all you've done in your career, you won Indy Pro, you won Indy Lights, whatever it may be, right? That's the beauty. And for a guy like Kiko Porto, he's just got to keep pushing. He needs to step things up a bit. May have thrown that lap away a bit, and everybody else stepping up. Siegel goes to 2nd. Ahmed up to 4th. Josh Green there into number 3. Into the 5th spot. Porto's fallen down to 6th.
And under half a minute left to go in this qualifying session, you'll get 1 more lap. I don't know if you're going to get 2.
Well, if they get around at the timing line right now, like you said, drivers coming out of turn 7 and 8 right now are going to get 1 more lap. Foster's not even going to get another one, I don't think. He may. Checker flag going to come out here momentarily. 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2. And do they get to the timing line on time? Checkered flag on the session. We'll see who gets through. Foster P1. Foster might have snuck through. He might have just snuck through. Oh, Foster's done as well. So Louis Foster into pit lane in the Copart Exclusive Autosport machine, still P1. Siegel 2nd, Green 3rd. Anam Ahmed in the 47 Juncos Hollinger car did get through. He is still rolling. He and potentially his teammate Reese Gold with 1 more lap on the racetrack. Ahmed sits in the 5th position. Gold currently further down in 9th. Both these drivers want to up themselves in the order. Ahmed currently on the inside of row number 3 alongside Sundaramurthy. And 1 more car, one of the, I believe, turn 3 motorsports cars, I think, through as well. So 3 more drivers out of turn number 4 through 5, now through 6. Very high-speed part of this racetrack. Let's see if we have anything for Eves, Ahmed, Gold, and Miller. No, Miller off, as we said. So it's Gold, Ahmed still on the racetrack. and Braden Eves, I believe, as well. There's the checkered flag being thrown as they come out of turn number 8. You can see that on the left side of the racetrack. Ahmed goes up to second, Gold to third. What a fantastic final lap for the Juncos Hollinger Racing drivers. Not quite enough to pip Louis Foster, who now leads by 50 points. Another bonus point for Louis Foster, another pole position for Foster as well. A 109.413, how about 0.08 of a second quicker as Anam Ahmed and Reese Gold, the two Juncos Hollinger drivers, lay it down in the final circuit. Ahmed was right there. He was P5, Todd, so a move up to second outside of row 1's fantastic. But Gold was down in 9th. To go from 9th to 3rd on that last lap totally changes the strategy you lay down for race number 1.
That last lap made it for Reese Gold because he was around 5th or 6th, fell down as the others were taking the checkered flag, so the pressure was on him to produce. He did, and look at the times, half a second between 1st and it looks like 8th in the starting lineup.
Yeah, this is tight as always in Indy Pro 2000. This is an absolutely stacked field. It'll be Louis Foster and Anam Ahmed on the front row, an all-British front row here for Foster and Ahmed. Reese Gold alongside Nolan Siegel on row number 2. Both these drivers coming into the Road to Indy at the same year, 14 years of age. They're only 17 now. Josh Green and Braden Eves will be on row number 3. Yuvan Sundaramurthy and Kiko Porto on row 4. Jordan Missick, solid qualifying session for Jordan. He goes 9th alongside Salvador de Alba. Row 6 will be Wyatt Prokachik and Jonathan Brown, and rounding up the field, Jack William Miller to the incident over in turn number 1, and Lindsey Brewer, who found it over 2 seconds from practice to qualifying. She closes up to within 3.2 seconds. I expect to see her even closer in qualifying for race number 2 tomorrow morning. And in the races, she's shown very well, and her race pace even better than her qualifying pace. All told, Louis Foster has got to be thrilled qualifying on the pole once again.
How spectacular for these two 17-year-olds to have accomplished so much and so early in their careers. It's wonderful to see.
Reese Gold and Nolan Siegel, we've watched them come through as 14, 15-year-olds in USF 2000, graduate up into Indy Pro. Reese Gold already a race winner, as Nolan Siegel. Gold in his second year of Indy Pro 2000. Nolan Siegel, a rookie, and definitely still with an opportunity at winning the championship. He's only 55 points behind Nolan Siegel. So the bottom line is we've got some great racing up for you. Qualifying done for race number 1. We'll have qualifying for race 2 tomorrow morning, first thing, Todd, both categories. And then we'll go racing about noon hour with USF 2000.
Thank you, Rob Howden. You'll be back with us then, and look forward to enjoying some more great action, USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000.